Welcome to the LXC.
You can somehow get
We can't walk blind.
Guys, they're gonna be on Baron. They're gonna be on Baron. We're gonna.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
you can
keep
maybe
pushing, keep
push.
pushing.
Maybe
Keep
push.
pushing. We need to pressure. Keep pushing.
They're on. They're on. They're on.
Okay.
Keep going.
Just keep
guys,
going.
We walk
Keep
up a little
going.
bit. Oh no, never mind.
You guys stop back maybe?
Yeah, we're just trying to stall. We're stall. We're stalling. We're stalling.
Aurora here,
They're off.
guys.
They're
I
off.
stopped
They're
it, I
off.
stopped it.
Okay, that's Aurora TP.
Cancel the rotate. Cancel.
Nice,
Cancel.
Nice.
I canceled. I canceled.
We can literally end the
COD.
game right now.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
We got the game. We got the game. We won the game.
No way. Wait, come on.
I'm in the picture, guys. I'm in the picture.
Because we scale with Warren and Kog'Maw, how do we at least stall this game for them to like potentially like fuck up into us and let us be able to have that comeback that we want?
Yeah, it's like experience is a big thing too. I feel like for TD Blessed, I think me and One Hand were the only players that had finals experience, and so like it's one of those things where like as you go on, like it was also Josie's first ever competitive split period. So for like jungle and stuff, they find themselves in a new situation. Me and Barbaric go way back, and we've been teammates for a long time. But it was Barb's probably first time in the final as well. So it was just a bunch of like, okay, we're like the excitement's flowing. You win game one, and you're like super fucking hype, and then game two starts, and we're just stomping you guys, and then all of a sudden it flips, and then as soon as that flip happens, you could feel it shatter, and that kind of sucks.
Everyone did super well, and I have to give props to your jungler because he really caught Outrage and I off guard with the lane ganks, like level 3 bot lane.
Josie, she's been doing a lot of good work, improving behind the scenes, and in Scrim, she's been doing a great job of just like learning of what we need to do as a team, and of course our coach has been really helpful with that, and her work has paid off. I'm happy that I was able to show off my pop-off moments in this series, at least game 1 and game 2. Game 3 was just kind of and then game 4 I just couldn't do anything on the Ahri. But it was nice to be able to show off a little bit, at least on the Yasuo. That was really fun, because like Syndra's kind of no skill champ right now. I just kind of press R on someone and it's a delete button, but I feel like I had a really fun time playing the Yasuo, at least until the game didn't go our way. Being able to get a lot of those solo kills, and then just kind of smurfing, at least for like the first 20 minutes. But yeah, fun series overall. Congratulations to Angie. It was mentioned last week on the podcast and stuff, but originally I did try out for Angie, and it was nice to really play against them. It was a fun narrative, and I enjoyed being able to, just play in that final. So fun series, fun split for us. We'll see what the future holds. I think from the looks of it, Bless is kind of falling apart, so who knows, it might be teamless. So hey, if there's a team out there looking for a mid laner, but we'll see. It was a fun time for Sentinel. I guess kind of the recap for the final there. I did kind of want to go into what we feel like maybe, I guess at least for me, what like All-Stars might look like. I think that might be a community question actually, wasn't it?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
I did not take the All-Star. Oh my goodness gracious, All-Star question There is a question about positions and people, but we'll get to that.
There's
So
a
you're
vote,
good.
correct? There's a vote
Yes,
going
the
on
vote
behind the scenes.
the vote is going on for All Stars for each league, and it does end tonight.
Okay. I guess I'll give you my like first, second, and third teams, just for the fun of it. And then I think that'll kind of cap off Sentinel. For first team, I would probably do Ultimise or Ultimus top lane. Just played really good throughout the split. Kind of that carry / facilitator for Angie. You can play either the tanks or you can play the carries. We've seen both sides. I think he overall is the best top laner for this split. For jungle, I'll probably give it to Sadness, even though questioning was really close. It was kind of hard to decide between the two of them. My questioning error having a great season. But for first team All Pro, I'll probably give it to Sadness. For mid lane, this is a really actually kind of closer than I would have thought. Like looking at the stats, I think me and very talented could make a very good case for either side. I went a little ego, but I probably put myself, just because of how like I kind of factored into what my team required me to do and how my team needed to play through me. That I was kind of more of a star player. Like I was more of like the focal point of my team in regards to everything kind of went through me. If like I wasn't doing well, then the team didn't really function too well in regards, and that's kind of reflected in the kill participation percentage. I had 82% of my team's kills are me or I facilitate it. So I was a big part. So I feel like, and I also have the most kills by mid laners by far. I think I lead by like 50 or 60 kills. Granted, I also lead in deaths, but that kind of comes with the territory. But I kind of do put myself at first All Pro, although it's really close, really close. It kind of comes down to if you prefer a facilitator or the carry type player. For bot, I put Outrage by far. Outrage just had a fantastic split. Really the focal point for Angie in regards to what they wanted to do and how they wanted to play around. So I give that nod to Outrage. And then for support, I can't give it to Nintendo because they came in mid-split. I think that is something that has to come into thought. So I'll give it to Physiology, because I think Fizzy was probably the best, like the best support outside of what Angie were doing. But second team All Pro, I'll go ahead and do Tiny Fist of Fury. I think they had a phenomenal split on Brown Lives Matter. And then it was just kind of, unfortunately for them, they had a rough split against Conduit someone, then they met Angie in the semis. But I think Tiny Fist of Fury overall over the course of the entire split probably deserves a nod. Really big weak side player for that team. For jungle, I probably give it to Questioning Error. I mentioned him for first team, but I think he was kind of he was a big reason why NLE were winning their games. And that's reflected. He has an 88% kill participation. And he also has the second most kills in that role. So I think, especially against our semifinals, I felt it. He did a phenomenal job, especially on that Lilia game. Mid lane, very talented. I'd put second team All Pro. Of course, very close. And then, Jackie, she's really good at what she does. She knows matchups very well. Big facilitator player. Big reason why Angie played how they did. Really showing up on the LeBlanc in the finals. That's not a pick I really expected her to bring out, but she played it really well, especially into me. And then for bot lane, it's tough for a second. There's a bunch of factors, but I think I have to give it to Arcavios from NLE. I think the split that they had was really good. And you know, being right behind, stalling right behind Outrage and a lot of stuff, pretty big. I kind of want to give it honorable for Stoic in one hand, although I'll go into it in my third team. But yeah, we'll keep going. For second team All Pro support, I'll probably it's tough. I don't know, the amount of games played is kind of throwing me off here with the Nintendo, but I think I have to give it to Toxic from NLE. I think, you know, just 92 kill participation on a support is kind of crazy, especially for a team like NLE. And they had the most assists in the league. So you could clearly, like, Toxic as a player likes to roam around, and the kind of game plan really revolved around him just being able to move to different lanes and facilitate it. So I'd probably give Toxic second team. And then third team, I'd probably give the jungle nod. I mean, I skipped top lane for some reason. Top lane, I'll probably give the nod to Barbaric. I think he was the weak side warrior for us. We called him weak side William. And he kind of did what he needed to do for us, and I think that was all we needed him to do. For jungle, I'll give it to Drakenrich on BLM. Fantastic split from him. Big reason why they kind of found themselves in where they did. I mean, 86 kill participation and a lot of his second most assists. Also the most deaths in jungle. And also the most kills. So just like me, aggressive player, I will look to make the play for his team. But you can clearly tell it worked. Oh no, second most assists. I lied. I looked up and but yeah. So, you know, respect to him. Only got to play one series against him in the regular, but that's all right. Mid, I'd probably give it to Sirius Oswald, although he wasn't there for the semifinal series. I think you can't discount the body of work he put in the regular season. Being able to play the control mages really well and kind of playing that other facilitator type role for them. I kind of wish I was able to play him in the semis. So I wanted my revenge from what happened in the regular season. But unfortunate for him that he wasn't able to play in the semis. Bot lane, it's between One Hand and Stoic, but I have to give it to One Hand because of better KDA and kill participation. But I think overall, very close between the two. For the most.
Alrighty.
And then bot lane, I gave it to Nintendo for third.
Okay. Anybody have anything else they'd like to say about Sentinel finals before we move on over to Crusader and give Storm his final 10 minutes?
Before we wrap up Sentinel, I would like to give a shout out to Bingus. I think he was a huge part of ED's success in early season. From what I was told, he was like their team's primary voice, and they were very stressed out when he ranked out on them. Very stressed out about what they were gonna do, because he was like sort of their like leading voice for their team, and a lot of their macro calls were coming from supports. So losing that, they were very stressed, and I had some big shoes to fill when I joined the team, because he was really a pivotal part of their team, and I think he really deserves like a huge shout out, because from what I heard from that team, like they really, really appreciated him as support, and if he's watching, they all really love you.
He is our podcast editor, so
he is the editor. Yeah,
he will definitely see it. Yeah. Before anybody else.
I remember.
Huge shout out to him.
And I remember
just like that, why is this clipped into the podcast 5 different times? What the hell?
No, I remember meeting Bingus. I mean, I remember when I was on Angie as a sub and just chilling in voice chat with him. He was always really fun to talk to.
I've not met him, but I've only heard great things.
Yeah,
so I think he definitely deserves a
really
shout
good
out.
Player. Great person, really good player. So yeah, shout out to you, Bingus. Yep.
Good job, Bingus. All right, Storm. Fast run. What happened in Crusader?
Well, this week we had our wonderful finals between CG Blood Moon and Bare Minimum. They apparently wanted to take a page out of our book and win game 1 and then get not so lucky the next 3 games. Slight womp womp. But luckily, we have the 2 players from that series as well as their coach here. So they're going to be able to give way more insight into the series than I ever can. I will say this does look like it was a pretty competitive series in most of these games. Game 3 would probably be the one that was quite lopsided. Unironically, I think just going off win screens here obviously doesn't paint you the perfect picture, but this looks like this was kind of the Abound show for a majority of every game. And yeah, I mean, props to you guys. You guys are gonna have the most insight into the series to tell me your opinions on it, so I'll let you guys kind of take it away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this series was super fun to play. I mean, we started off with a loss, which was pretty rough. But you know, we did that in semis against RAR as well, and we were able to bounce back pretty well. So I mean, a lot of it came down to draft and shenanigans in draft and manipulating, you know, priority picks in the actual series. So I mean, NightHawk, do you have anything like overall to say before we dive into each of the games?
All I'm gonna say is shout out to Bare Minimum. Was a great series, super awesome, competitive guys. All the friendly banter before and after the games was worth it. It was a nice way to wrap out Crusader for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we can dive through the different games here. So we can start off with the worst game, of course, which is game 1. Yeah, our draft, we definitely cooked a little too much. We were on blue side that game, and we felt going into the series that Kaisa was going to be like a big priority, and basically whoever has Kaisa should win the game. Which honestly would have been true had we not drafted like everything around it to like not support the Kaisa.
Yeah.
Because like you can see like Rezi popped off and went like 11-2, and then the rest of us basically ran it down. But I mean, I think that came down to a lot of like we just didn't have any really good engage. Like our best and most reliable engage that was not reliable at all was me on Trundle placing a pillar down and then NightHawk going in and eing someone into the pillar, which, to be fair, in scrims, it worked out really well. Like we were popping off with it in scrims, but then when it came to the actual game, like we just didn't execute well on those combos.
Yeah, as Abound said, I mean, Resilient, a very good game from him. 11-2, played really well. Wookie did decent as well. Managed to, as always, go neutral, if not win his lane. If we definitely had better engage, could have gone better, or if we just managed to execute better, it could have also worked out. I do think also some of the mid to late game fights we weren't all on the same page on either. There was a few times where we were going in staggered from each other, and it did end up becoming to the detriment of ourselves. Otherwise, we might have been able to hold out the game and give Resilient a chance to actually do something. But yeah, I mean, just like we did in semis, lost game 1, and then we clutched it and locked in for the rest of the series.
Yeah. So game 1, we felt like the main problem from their team was the Lilia. Like we just felt like Lilia was just hard winning them fights because we couldn't get in. You know, we were all like basically just perma slowed and perma like actually we weren't even slowed. They didn't have allies, but I mean we were just like having issues getting in anywhere because our engage we'd go in and then immediately everyone would just fall asleep and just get cleaned up from there. So going into game 2, we decided, okay, we think we played better, you know, trying to get like some kind of counter pick, as well as the fact that we wanted to play a Kog'Maw comp because it was really strong in our semifinal match. And since we were on the same patch, we wanted to try and draft for that. So we switched over to red side going into game 2. And do you remember what they first picked? Was it Syndra? Yeah, they first picked Syndra. Yeah, so they first picked the Syndra, and then I know from there we were able to secure, a Tahm Kench and the Kog'Maw.
Kench, yeah.
Kog'Maw Kench. And basically, like, okay, now we go from there, and then we were able to secure the Lilia, and I mean, you can say I went 10-1 on the Lilia, and it. I don't know. I mean, like, just in the games, we kind of just flowed really well. Like, they just looking at the stats, they didn't get a single tower. They had 1 dragon and 3 grubs. So for the most part, we were pretty much just running the entire game. And I mean, do you have anything else to say about game 2? Because I feel like game 2 and game 3 were the ones that we kind of just were able to just had complete control in.
Yeah, looking into game 2, Poppy definitely is one of the supports that I do prefer playing, but after how rough it went game 1, we decided to opt into what I feel like not a lot of people play with the Cog Kench, but has been working for myself and Resilient pretty well, mostly because I don't play a lot of enchanters, and out of the more tankier supports, Kench is one of the only ones that has a real way to like bail out a Kog'Maw, because I don't play Taric either, and their choice of Blitzcrank after we picked the Cog Kench did surprise me a bit, because you're basically giving yourself a disadvantage. Anyone you hook in that isn't Kog'Maw is not going to be a pretty face to hook into your team, and if you hook the Kog'Maw in, I probably will be saving him, unless we just want to throw Resilient to the wolves, which we have done sometimes.
We definitely have.
Other than that, yeah, as Abound said, Lilia, as you guys will see as we continue looking through the games, will become the pinnacle of the series, with a lot of the plays, a lot of the focus going around that, and my Kench will just become the nuisance that they will regret not banning out sooner than game 4.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead. Good.
I was just gonna say, like, just looking, like, I was able to watch some of it, but no, the Kench was doing a lot of work, and especially like it gets so much value, especially like in that game 3 draft where you're like staring down the barrel of like a Vi Ori. So it's just like, oh well, Vi tries to go in on Resilient with the Ori ball. You get well, Resilient's in my mouth now. Like, oh, pause.
Yo!
Wow.
Whoa!
That's
crazy.
Congrats, Resilient. I wasn't expecting that one.
I mean, Reggie said to glaze him, but my goodness.
I don't think that's what he meant.
But Kog'Maw, well, Tahm Kench, really, really fun champ, and yeah, I mean, what are your like? The thought process of like Blitzcrank at the TK is really funny. I think like the idea of it is you just kind of look to hook the TK, but even then it's just kind of whack. Because it's like the idea behind it, I think, is you like try and bait out the eat from Tahm Kench, and then you just hook the Tahm Kench into your team. Then you can get both of them. But I don't know, like it's not really great in practice, especially if you have a coordinated team. And then, yeah, it was really fun to watch T1 Jace play this series as well. The Cassante performance was crazy. And I know he was a big proponent of getting Cassante enabled for the finals. He was freaking going on a campaign to have him enabled, and it came out here.
Yeah. What was funny though is like the week before, and keep in mind we're on the same patch, right? He was like, yeah, Cassante's gutted, like completely useless champ, not gonna play it. And then like we go, so I don't think we played it against RAR or even
we couldn't, it was banned.
Oh, okay, well.
Like it was disabled.
They could have left it open. We wouldn't have picked it. And then going in to this final, it was like, oh yeah, Kasante, you can just blind pick me it. And I was like, okay. Like, just the perception of the change, because last time was patch day, right? So but yeah, I mean, Jace has always been like a rock in the top lane. Like never is he really like running it down or anything, or like having like a hard time. I mean, game one
was a little rough.
Game one, yeah. Game one, he's definitely having a rough time. But to be fair, pretty much all did. But yeah, I mean, the Kasante pick came out like he literally went like 0-7 in game one and then went 6-2 in the next game.
Yep.
So I mean, if that's not a testament to like just it's a hard to steal, I guess. I don't know. Like, he's gonna be able to bounce back, right?
My biggest surprise, honestly, was the fact they gave you Viego game 4.
Bro, yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there in a second. But yeah. I mean, we can jump there now if y'all want to.
Before we go there, I'd like to hear from our coach a bit. Loona, what are your thoughts about this series?
I mean, like, to be honest, I tried so hard to advocate for the longest time that you guys basically fit the perfect competitive playstyle where you can weak side top lane, expect Jace to either be neutral winning, and then from there on play the team fights, right? I know me and you, NightHawk, we spent a lot of time bot reviewing early game bot lane fights, team fights in general. I feel like over the course of the split, I've just slowly seen you guys progress to be better and better in team fights. It's just things like that. I understand lower elo brackets, but the fact that you understand or know the importance of roles, what to do, and the fact that I really hammered down the use of TPs and being able to flank in fights. It really made a difference for you guys here. Overall, also too, I really want to give a shout out to Resilient for the draft gap he actually did propose most of the times. A lot of times when you figure a team out by reading them the first game, especially losing the first game, getting sort of that download complete and so trying to do, you end up just taking over, and you can see it too. Also, a really impressive performance by Abound. I mean, it's Jungle Canyon now. You just look at the stats; they don't really lie. When you look at it, it's very impressive to see. And I'm also quite surprised that they left Viego open despite banning it the entirety of the series. But that's just my perspective on it. Obviously, I didn't get to see all of it, only bits and pieces here and there because I am a bit busy in collegiate right now. But overall, I'm very glad and proud of what the team did. I feel like it is more of their achievement than mine, but I am still glad that I had at least some refinement or polish to get into this position,
For sure. Again, shout out to Loona, shout out to Resilience drafting behind the scenes. As much as we may have physically played the games out, there was a lot of work that went in behind the scenes that isn't seen, and I feel needs to be appreciated between the great coaching that Loona's provided us across the last couple months, and with some of us even longer before that, just going over VODs, giving us one-on-one coaching, with Resilient putting hours and hours into draft planning, scouting, preparing, constantly just sending us all DMs asking questions about how do you feel about this matchup into that matchup? How do you feel if I blind pick you this champion? Or it's work that he didn't have to do, but he chose to do, and I'm glad that it finally paid off at the end with us being able to bring home the championship. So again, shout out to both of them for the great work they did behind the scenes to get us to where we were.
Yeah, and I mean Rezi, I mean he did just put in the work, right? I've listened to most of these podcasts, and I know Rezi gets the hate sometimes because he's a yapper, but I mean he really, if we didn't have the effort and in draft and scouting that he put in, it would have been a much harder path to get here and be as dominant as we were. We knew a lot of the routes that their drafts would go. And, to be fair, when we first started up with this team, I wasn't a big fan of Rezi's drafts and stuff. And sometimes people get really offended by that and push back, but he just stepped up and, put in a ton of work. And I mean, any team I would play on, I would want him they're drafting because he really stepped up and just his drafting skills just really good now, and it really brought us this far for sure. So
yep.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say one more thing I do want to mention, which I feel is a noteworthy thing. We talked about it with the earlier Sentinel League, but also T1 Jace, first time playing comp. Before this, he was just a solo queue player. Homie came into this without any knowledge of what comp was like or any expectations. I remember some of our first scrims, he was confused what even draft lol was, or like why he has to be the one banning out for us sitting at the top of the custom lobby. But it just goes to show raw talent, given a little bit of coaching and some refinement, can succeed unimaginably. I wish him the best of luck moving forward. I know he's looking to play in Diamond Leagues for next split because he did unfortunately hit D3, so he's not going to be around in the Emerald Leagues anymore. But I know whatever team he ends up on and whoever he's going to be playing top lane for, they will see many a success with him.
Man, this is just the split of the first timers, huh? We had, at least my team, of course, they ended up losing in the final, but you know, Josie coming in first time and her doing really well, and then now Jace. So big.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want any insight into his playstyle, he's a super big Bwipo fan. So if you just watch him, it works. So yeah, if you want any insight into Jace, that's probably the biggest insight. He's a big Bwipo guy. So yeah, but kind of jumping back to the series, game 3, like they drafted a really short range comp, and similarly, like we just had the tools that we had in game 2 to kind of protect like our team from their engage. So like game 3, like their main thing was they can't, like we drafted Lilia B1 and then they went in with a Vi Orianna, which is like, I mean, that just screams, all right, we're like going in wombo combo, right? So from there, we then drafted Galio Kench, which is like good luck killing like a target, you know, when you're trying to do your wombo combo. So we kind of just blew their draft up right there. Then they went with a really wild R3 Vayne, which we figured they were trying to flex between top and ADC. So we kind of were trying to figure out, you know, okay, what do we do support wise? Like what could bring them up? We thought Rel would be a good pick for them. We banned that out. We thought Milio would be a good pick to give that Vayne some extra range into us since they were already short range. Took that out. We knew that Lulu was a possibility, but we felt that like the pieces we had, we would be able to deal with it. So they came in with like an R4 Lulu, and then we just rounded out with Varus and Mordekaiser. And the crazy thing is, like, Rezi was super confident, like, yeah, like pick me Varus and stuff, and we went with it. After the series, he mentioned that was like the second time he's played Varus like recently. Like he almost never plays it. And shout out to him, he went 5-0-7. So but I mean that game was pretty, I mean we controlled the entire game. They did get 2 dragons, but that was pretty much it. It was pretty clinical from there. So after that, I imagine going into game 4, they didn't have a lot of draft answers for it, which is why like going into game 4, we knew like, okay, they're gonna have to ban out the Lilia, because it was just that much of a problem unless they went blue side, and for whatever reason they went red side, I'm assuming to try and get some counter picks. But they figured out Kench was a problem and Lilia was a problem, and then they kept the Poppy ban, which that's where we get to the point where they left open my Viego. And so of course it's open, and we went ahead and B1 picked that. And this was a closer game. Just because I don't know fully if our draft was totally like comprehensive. I don't know, like, how do you think, like what were the things that like made this game so much closer than the other 2 before it?
For game 4?
For game 4, yeah.
I think game 4, on paper, once we got the Viego, which we were very surprised to have been able to get, we thought it was going to be a pretty done deal. I think I did struggle a few times with the Nautilus, and I got a little bit of echoes from game one in terms of us just not being on the same page about certain stuff.
Right.
I do think playing Kench for 2 games and doing really good and then having it taken away from me, I was a bit low-key unsure of what to play after the Kench was gone, but Nautilus is one of my more comfortable supports. I went for it, and we just needed something that had guaranteed CC onto the Jinx. There was a couple times where I misexecuted. I think I distinctly remember there was a play mid where I tried to flash hook the Jinx and ended up entirely missing.
Mm-hmm.
So just a few missed executions on our part early on. And I think there was like a dive or something, or like a fight we took early on that didn't work in our favor either. But once we were able to get the ball rolling with the Viego, we were able to play it pretty nicely. And if you watch back the game, it definitely showed that as a team, through practice and through our coaching, we've learned to be able to, once given the opportunity to go for the victory or be able to press the advantage, we're able to do it. Because as soon as we get like the first playoff with Viego, we just immediately start taking towers, objectives, and we're just like non-stop on them after that. It looks like the game just flips on its head, and there is oftentimes teams that will get an opportunity like that and not be able to capitalize on it because they'll like get a couple kills and then slow down the pace of the game again. And we realized like we can't slow this down. If we slow it down, Jinx is going to outscale our Jhin because of how fed she got early on. So we had to just keep up the pressure, and thankfully we were able to and close out the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Like I'm watching some of it back right now, and for whatever reason, so after like my first clear, and we were we had enough pressure that we could go for double scuttle, which is really big for junglers. If you don't know, like if you get double scuttle and then do a second full clear, you get level 6. I think you get level 6 off of like getting 1 grub, essentially, if you don't like have any fights or anything like that. I ended up getting 6 off of my double clear plus the scuttles, because when I was crossing over middle, Cinerus and Badger were looking to make a play on me as I was going over for the double scuttle, and for whatever reason, Badger just like randomly flashed, which was like he flashed and then no spells came out, and then I found Cinerus in the bush waiting for me, but he was still level 3, I believe, when that happened, and so I was able to. Oh no, he was level. No, okay, yeah, he was level 4. But whenever that happened, basically I got Hui a double kill on Cinerus and Badger, and then we were kind of able to snowball some lead there. Now there was the thing that I think was keeping them in it the most was I was making a few bad calls around like fights to take or objectives to like press when we weren't set up. So if you watch it back, like NightHawk looks like he's running it down, but it's literally just him following like my bad call, and then me realizing later like I'm literally just having my Nautilus like run it down here because I'm not making the right calls. But you know, in the end, like we had like a Baron flip that we went for that ended up paying off like crazy good. And basically what happened in that fight, let me jump to it really quick so I can get a refresher. Yeah, we were taking it. I think Cinerus had just died and then respawned, and he got back quick enough that basically it was a flip. So Jace went after him, and then he was able to get into it. And I'm watching it back right now. Cinerus got it down to 51 health with his smite, and then I was able to secure it. But after that fight, like I was pretty low. Most of our team was out of mana. Jace was just running their backline. I was able to take out the Syndra, and then got Cinerus on the Zinzao super low. And then their Leona ended up engaging on us as we were kind of like waiting around to see if Jace would make it out or not. and from that we got the Leo low enough that I felt like I was confident on Viego to, if I can get this reset, I can make a play happen. Because at this time, NightHawk had just respawned, so he's not there. Jace had just died. I was there half health. Wookiee's there with literally 0 mana on Hui. Rezi's there with like 100 mana on Jin. And essentially I just go in to take out the Leona. I was able to get a reset, but got pretty low. And then I went after their Jinx with the Leo E. Luckily, the Xin Zhao was like standing right on top of the Jinx, so I just immediately ulted, got the Xin reset, and then was able to take out the Malphite and run down the Jinx for a Viego reset quadra kill, which really just kind of sealed the deal on the game. We had the Baron, got a quadra kill, was able to turn that in to a couple items, some good leads. We almost threw it in base afterwards because we went a little deep after Syndra. But in the next fight, they just came in, they threw everything at me and left their Jinx completely exposed to Jace, who for the like 15 minutes leading up to that fight, Resi was like, I don't know how we killed this Jace or the Jinx because it took so long, or they were so far ahead of Resi. We're like, we don't know how we're gonna kill this Jinx. And Jace the whole time is like, just like we did last time in week 3, like I'll just get in the back line with the Aatrox and just like take them out. And so if you watch that last fight back, they just dump everything on me. They're able to kill me before I can do anything, but Jace just takes out the back line, and the team's able to follow up and close the game out. Like, so as much of it felt like what we'd call an Abound show, that I mean, I did nothing in the last fight except for soak damage and all their ults. So I mean, this whole season was a team effort, and like, yeah, it was just a great team to play with.
One more thing I will say about Game 4. I don't mean to glaze ourselves too much, but as a team, I think it was really important that going into the game, we had identified what our win con was going to be. Jace told us from loading screen he was really confident playing Aatrox into Malphite. He was going to be able to do fine top. We knew that Abound had his Viego, so we were good to go there. And as you can see from majority of the series, I do oftentimes roam for extended amounts of time, and we're comfortable leaving Resilient to himself bot lane. I remember this game, there was a few times early on where Resilient emphasized, like, guys, we're giving Jinx a lot of plates. She's getting a large lead in front of me. Like, she is going to be an issue. And we just had to keep reminding ourselves as a team, our win con is going to be jungle, top lane. We get them ahead. It's fine if Abound isn't ganking right now. Let him keep full clearing. Let him get his items. And once they're ready to go and into mid game, we will be able to execute the way we intend to. And being able to just repeat that to ourselves as a team and stay focused on what we knew was our win con, I think definitely helped as well. Because had we buckled under the ADC asking for me to come back and me not roaming as much, it could have gone very differently. But we knew what we needed to do and how we wanted to do it. And because we were able to stay true to that across the entire game, I think is one of the reasons why we were able to flip the game so quickly on its head when we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was a good mentality check on Game 4.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody have anything else they would like to say about that Crusader match?
I mean, I just want to say, like, bare minimum, great team. I mean, it's weird because we actually only played one Sector 2 team the entire season, and that was that Caged Monkeys NightHawk?
Yeah, I think they're the only ones we faced from Sector 2.
So, and it was a crazy path for them to get here. Like, I think they were the ones who reverse swept in quarters, right?
They were, yes.
Yeah. So that's just crazy to think about. And then they 3-0'd semis. So we knew it was going to be a good matchup going into finals, and they were great with the memes and stuff that leading into it. I think Badger was on here last week. Kind of talking some smack. Going after Resi and stuff. Yeah. What the people want, right? So, but I mean, we won. So I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Did you see his little meme gif that he had just in case they had won?
Yes, the clown blowing up. Yeah,
He
that
posted it.
was
He's like,
great.
"What am I supposed to do with this now?"
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bare Minimum did really, really well. They fought through regular season and then they like punched their way through playoffs to get to that finals. So they did an excellent job. Very proud of them. But congrats to Clown Gaming, of course, for taking that win, that first place prize. So,
One more
yeah.
important shout out I want to toss out there. Shout out to Sems, owner of Clown Gaming, giving me and Rezi the opportunity to create this team and be able to bring home this championship for him.
Yep. Yeah. Also, like, I mean, we talked about it in our interview after the games, but for people who didn't see that, like, Rezi pulled me out of retirement to come play this season. Like, I had gotten married and, like, you know, stopped playing competitive league because it just took a lot of time away. And he hit me up right at the end of MSI, and I was like, you know what, watching this makes me want to play competitive again. And I'm glad that he was able to do that. And it's just like crazy how our team all came together and
I mean,
it just played out.
Definitely, like thinking about how this team was composed. To give a little bit of backstory, myself and Wookie Monster, we played together 5 years ago in a gold league when we were both just gold players. I think Wookie had just hit plat 4, and I remember back then I was like, my god, a plat 4 player, like this guy's so good. And after like 5 years of not talking to each other, when me and Rezi were given the opportunity by Sems, I messaged him and he just happened to be looking for a team and was like, "Oh, I'm in Emerald as well right now, so why not? Let's give it a shot." So we ended up getting him. Rezi pulled Abound out of retirement, and then, as I said, Jace has never played in comp before. I ended up finding him in the League of Legends official Discord. He was looking for a solo duo partner, and I messaged him, like, raw DM out of nowhere, was like, "Hey man, you want to try out for a comp team?" And he was like, "I've never played comp, but why not? Let's give it a shot."
go.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
just it really is a miracle run. Like the chances of these people coming together the way they did and everything just working out how it did, it's definitely a story for the ages.
Yep. And we're all going separate ways now. So
Yeah.
Oh no! So we won't see Blood Moon back for
No.
Winter Split.
No,
Blood Moon is
unfortunately
a one-time story that sadly will not be returning.
Well, that's sad to hear. That's sad to hear. Hopefully, we'll still see another Clown Gaming team.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sure there'll be other clowns.
There usually are. Okay, well, and that, you guys, is the Crusader finals and how that went. We are down Riven now. He had to go as well. Hopefully Wooly Bully will be joining us soonish. But we get to move on over to the community questions. This is where we get to answer goofy questions, sometimes serious questions, sometimes very, very not serious questions, from the community that they have posted to us. Now, the first question is from Jinka, from RAR. And I'm gonna ask a preemptive question because I'm not sure if this is an actual thing. Are a beat player, is that like a phrase? Is that a thing? Or did he mistype and mean best player? Does anybody know?
What's the question? Or
top 3 beat player? I would say probably best. I would say it's a mistype. Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure it wasn't lingo that I was missing out on.
No, you're good.
That I'm just too old to know. Okay, so his question is, who are the top 3 best players in each position in your opinion? I'm assuming that he is talking for his league, which I believe for Jinka is Crusader. Yeah. So we will start with you, Crusader peoples.
Cool.
Best 3 in each role?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a top 3. To be honest, I don't pay that much attention to statistics.
I've got the rosters pulled up. I'm gonna go through it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so for top, I mean, it has to be T1 Jace. Like, he probably is gonna take away like MVP of the split. I mean, like I said, he's just a rock. Like, there's nothing this guy can't like face and just dominate. Never really had to worry about top ever. And we there was a lot of times we played for him. Second for top, so it's hard for me because again I only ever played basically sector 1 teams, so I have no clue about sector 2.
What you can do, guys, if you want to cheat on your stats sheet on that document, there is a tab called lanes that ranks all players from both sectors in the top 10 based off of stats. So that can give you an easier grouping to look at if you would like.
All right, that does help because I was looking at the rosters like, okay, I gotta piece this together here. All right, okay.
Wait, where are we looking? Sorry.
Crusader Master Doc.
Yeah.
Go to the lanes tab.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just looking at it though, I mean, I know Fort 20 had some like crazy picks. Like I think he played Quinn in semis and stuff, which I think we banned in one of our games. But I mean, just like again, going off the people that I saw and played against, I would probably put Jace number 1, probably Fort 20 number 2, and then probably Storm at number 3 for top lane and Crusader.
Okay, NightHawk, what do you think?
I think we're still talking about top lane, right?
Yeah.
I think as Abound said, Jace that definitely is up there. I think CZI is a top laner that I've had the opportunity to face in scrims a few times and play with. CZI is definitely someone who should not be underestimated. Solid top laner, 420, definitely played well in the finals against us. I'd say those 3 is the 3 I would put as a top 3 for top lane.
Nintendo, what do you think about Sentinel top 3 in your top lanes?
I think it's a play a lot of the regular season.
Well, that master doc is the same for Sentinel as well. You just go to your Sentinel document and pop that open and take a look and see what you think stats wise you would claim would be the top 3. Does not have to necessarily be in the order that the lanes tab is in. So but I try to have all kinds of data handy for everybody at all times. Which means we'll get those finals matches in eventually. That's probably all going to get posted up tonight. And then after the votes close, the MVPs, All-Stars stuff will also go up. So I'm rambling, giving Nintendo time to look at her sheet. If nobody noticed.
I saw what you were putting down.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You worked with me a little bit. You worked with me.
Yeah, I mean, just going off NightHawk's point from ours, while they're getting that open. I had seen CZI. I've seen him before in a lot of leagues. I know he's usually topping it. Only reason I didn't save CZI was they only played 6 games, which is the lowest out of any of the games played from any of the other top laners. So I didn't know what the situation around CZI was, if that was like, if they kind of split time or anything like that, or they were sub.
No, he was CZI is a main roster, but I think they had prior commitments and weren't able to join until the last grouping. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do know that like sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do know like from talking to CZI in past, he does play on several different teams, and I think he is really booked on his schedule. So I don't know how often this team that he was playing on LXC with might have been able to scrim or practice. So that might have had some.
Yeah.
So that might have had some effect into why they didn't end up going as far as some other teams did.
Yeah, no. I've actually seen CZI, Glada, and a couple of the others. I've seen them all a number of times and in a number of different leagues. So I know they get really, really busy. So yeah. How you doing, Nintendo?
Good. I think for first it just has to go to Ultimates. So
okay.
Huge impact for us. And then at least playing against them. Braum Lives Matters top lane was really good. I'd give it to him, and then maybe TD Bless top lane. I think they were all anchors for their team. At least playing against them all in finals, it's hard to go just off of stats because top lane is sort of a lane where like you can have a lot of impact without having the best stats, especially on some of the tank champions. So it is a little harder to look at that because like you don't necessarily have to be like the carry of your team up in top lane always. Ultima showed that with us a few times, even though he does gravitate towards some of the carry champions. But I think that's just my opinion. It's hard to go off of people without actually like playing against them.
Right.
So
Without that actual experience.
yeah.
To see how they play. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. But we're gonna then move on over to jungle. Abound.
Yeah, this is my role. Yeah, I mean, I would probably put myself number one. Like, I don't know what you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I proved that in finals. And I mean, more than just stats, like, I am usually the one like shot calling in the games, controlling our early game macro. You know, calling NightHawk up for grubs, or setting reminding everyone, all right, we're minute 30 out from this objective, like we need to reset, put our wards out, this is how we want to like play these objective setups and fights. So while I did do a lot of hard, or not hard carrying, because that implies my team was dead weight, but as much as I did really well in finals, a lot of I would put value in for me was the stuff that was you're not going to see on a stats page. And then for number two, while I didn't see them play, just looking at stats, sodium hydroxide is like, I mean, 57 kills across 14 games is pretty crazy. So I guess I'm glad I didn't meet them in the playoffs at all. Not that it would have done anything, but yeah, they seem to have popped off in regular season. So I think they were the ones. Who did they play in? Did they play bare minimum in semis, right? Was it semis or? I'll have to
I
look.
can tell you.
They're on
Yeah,
yellow.
they face bare minimum in semis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so not sure what happened there, but seems like they've got their head on straight there. And then probably third. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard for me to pick here. I think just from people that I played against, I mean, Lord Nick and Cinerus were the two ones that I played in. I played Cinerus in finals and Lord Nick in semis. I mean, I think the fact that they're even there, Lord Nick seems to have some good stats, but he was more of a sub. I only see he's got 4 games played, so I'd probably have to give it to Cinerus. Their first game, again, it was like the Lilia show, and it made it really hard to play against in finals. But after that, I mean, I think him being there, obviously going up against sodium hydroxide and 3-0ing them the week before in semis, I think he's probably putting on a lot there, and that's being able to shut sodium hydroxide down. I imagine if that's the way it went. So I'd probably have to give it to Cinerus, who I also know is taking a step away. I think he said he's going to be a dad soon.
Yes.
So that's super awesome. Congratulations, Cinerus, for that. But I'd probably give Cinerus the nod for third.
All right, NightHawk.
Yep. I'd have to agree with the same top 3. Honestly, looking at the statistics, they don't deny the facts. Sodium hydroxide Abound would be definitely, I'd put Abound first, Sodium second, and Cinerus third. Lord Nick, I will give a shout out on his Amumu. He played that Amumu pretty damn well, gave us a run for our money with it. But overall, Cinerus must have done something right. They won semis, and they got to finals, and he played pretty well in finals against us as well. So, actions speak.
All right, Nintendo. What about Sentinel?
For jungle, I think like hands down across the board, probably Sadness is top jungle. He had a lot of impact in our games. Super high KDA. Was really a facilitator for our teams and team fights. Second place for jungle, I'd probably have to give it to Josie. He was a huge facilitator for his team. He caught us off guard a lot in finals, and just looking at like previous match history, he looks like he's a huge she is a huge impact for their team. And then probably Brown Lives Matter jungle for third. Playing them, they were a force to be reckoned with on their team and sort of held their team together for as long as
Okay, so we're talking about
while we
Dragon
played
Ridge.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with a ton of the players because I did
No,
come
it's
in
quite
like,
all right.
one
Quite all right.
game in regular season. It is hard. I know Riven before they left, they did already give their top 3 on the podcast. So
He did.
No.
yeah.
Okay, so that moves us on over to mid lane.
Yeah, so for mid lane, now this is where I break from what I'd done before. But I think I would probably put Uwu Slayer as number 1. Just in stats, looking at it, like they've done really well. We played them in quarters, and he was like we did 3-0 them, but as the series went on, it was progressively harder to deal with. They really were close to taking game 3 off of us, and that was because of the work Uwu Slayer was putting in, I believe, on Yone. And so I think they were probably like really key to them being able to come through play-ins, being able to come into quarters, and even though it was a 3-0 on our side, Uwu Slayer definitely made it difficult for us. So I'd have to give it to Uwu Slayer. In terms of number 2, I'd probably put Wookie. He's our mid laner. Dude was just a rock. I mean, you could probably count on one hand how many times I ganked mid like the entire season. He's just really awesome being able to just hold mid pressure, push whenever I needed him to gain priority, so I can do objectives, get early scuttles, things like that, be able to push into their jungle. I mean, yeah, he was just a stable player in mid, just absolute rock for us, because a lot of our win cons was either through bot or through top, and being able to have someone that I can kind of leave on an island, even though they are mid, was extremely helpful. And he always pumped out damage. He was able to get kills. Like, he roamed a lot with me and NightHawk to be able to make plays and stuff. So he drew a lot of pressure too. A lot of teams put emphasis on trying to shut down Wookiee early. And he was able to absorb that a lot, which gave us a lot of breathing room on the other sides of the map. And then for number 3, let's see. Yeah, again, it's hard for me to put anyone that I really haven't played against. Just looking at stats, Humor is up there. But I know we played Badger. I know he took a lot of draft capital with his Talia and things like that. So knowing Badger, having played against him, I'd probably lean towards Badger. He did make finals, obviously. And again, to the point that I made with Jungle, Humor was on yellow, same as, Cinerus was on, sodium hydroxide was on yellow as well. They were able to 3-0 them in semis, so I would probably have to lean towards Badger, and I think a lot of that was the draft capital he brought.
Okay, cool bean. NightHawk?
For me, when it comes to mid lane, I would actually put Wookiee first over Uwu Slayer, because I think if we're talking about best player, just looking at KDA isn't a tell all of what makes a best player. Yes, Uwu Slayer definitely does have higher kills and larger kill streaks and killing sprees, but Wookiee Monster as a mid laner, as Abound said, only was able to succeed mid with very minimal attention given to him, and I would say if not succeeding, at least was able to guarantee going neutral in most games, and that itself, to me, gives him a first position. I would put Uwu Slayer second, because he is definitely the runner-up for best mid laner. And third, I will also have to disagree with Abound, and I think Humor should take the third place spot because despite not getting a chance to face him directly, I did get to see some of his gameplay from quarterfinals on stream, and his Jace was really well, and just throughout the series, it showed that he knows how to execute on mid lane, and unfortunately in semis his team wasn't able to advance, but sometimes that is the story of mid lane where no matter how well you do, if the rest of the map isn't able to uphold their part, it's gonna fall apart. It's just like ADC. The role is great on its own, but you need the rest of the team to work with you and be able to hold their weight. Otherwise, you're just gonna crumble.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Nintendo, what about you and Sentinel?
For Sentinel, both Jackie and Riven come to mind for first. For me personally, I'm gonna have to give it to Jackie. Personal bias, she is on my team, but I think she's just kind of the stable rock we needed mid lane. Like she's very consistent, which consistency is big. Riven, I would give him second. He pumped out a lot of damage for his team. He was a super strong force for TD Blessed. For me, the difference just came down to like. I think he's a bit of a wild card. He's the wild card that TD kind of needed. He carried a lot of their games, but at least for our team, we really just needed consistency, and consistency is something I value. So that's sort of their replacements. Right. And then third, From Lives Matter mid lane combo, they also were able to just pump out a lot of damage for their team. And I think they were one of the lower ranking mids, at least rank wise, and they did phenomenal for their team. So I think I'd probably put them third.
Okay, sounds good. Now we are starting to run out of time and we still have questions left over. So speed run for ADC and support. We love you guys anyway, but speed run, Abound, go.
All right. ADC was pretty stacked in Crusader. I would probably have to put Striker first. And then probably Dog Davis and then Rezi. Yeah, I mean that would be the order. As much as I love Rezi, just like the other two, I think have like better like hands. But Rezi, like he makes up for it in totally other areas, right? So, I support real quick. I definitely put NightHawk number one for support. I don't think anyone really got close to him. And from there, probably Dira. Who he played in finals, made it very difficult in some of those games, especially game 4 on the Leona. And then from there, just looking at some stats, it seems like Griffin played really well. 13 games, 13 KDA as a support is pretty crazy. So that's probably
okay. Sounds good. NightHawk.
Likewise, I'm gonna end up echoing Abound here, but I think ADC Striker definitely takes the first place spot. I would put Resilient second over Dog Davis, but I would put Dog Davis third simply because, just like I said with mid lane, I don't think KDA or just looking at stats is all that matters when it comes to encompassing the best player in a role. I think Resilient was able to play weak side really well and allow me to roam for extended amounts of time throughout games and still manage to do fine. We saw it in finals. He was playing Kog'Maw into a Blitzcrank and was still able to somehow make the Ashe half HP instead of himself. So I think that itself is a talent that some ADCs do not have enough of. So that's why I would put him second. For support, obviously myself first. I do think that Dira was a good runner-up for support. His Leona was definitely a struggle, and shout out to any of the supports that play Melio. That champion is the bane of my existence as a tank support. It's why it got perma banned whenever I thought it was gonna be picked because I cannot deal with Melios. Griffin
Remember those
also really good support.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sentinel, Nintendo.
Right, for ADC, first I'd probably give it to Outrage, and then second, One Hand, and then probably Stoic.
Okay.
Just based off of stats. And then support, I'd probably give first to Zarek, from RAR. Super strong support. Just looking at their games, it looks like they really were like a rock for their team. And then probably Physiology second, and then third, I'd probably give shoutouts to Rocky, and Conduit.
And there you have it. All right, Jinka, there's your question. All right, so the next question is from Doki. He wants to know, what are you most excited about for season 2024 part 3? League related or not really league related? Abound.
I mean, I think probably just getting on the ranked grind again, I guess. I had briefly hit D4 last split. I had 2 weeks left in the season, and I should have just played it safe and sat on it. But I decided to play, and within like a week, I was already down to like Emerald 3 again. Yeah, I know. So I called it there. But I think just getting back to it, I do like the changes that have been made. You know, breaking down some of the burst. Viego feels really strong right now, so I'm just happy about that.
You're in happy sauce. Nighthawk,
Yeah.
what do you think?
For myself, I'm kind of the inverse of Abound here. Split 1, split 2, I managed to get D4 both times, and I did manage to wrap out the splits on D4. That has been my goal for many years, so I do feel accomplished. And split 3, I'm probably going to be stepping away from solo queue and league comp in general because I am looking forward to the Alpha 2 for Ashes of Creation, which is an upcoming MMO. So I'm going to be more busy with all of that later October.
Okay. What about you, Nintendo?
Probably just grinding solo queue. So, I after roster locks, for those of you who don't know, I am an ADC main, so I don't main support. But I was able to hit E1 like 87 LP, and then I got field support one game, lost that game, and then proceeded to lose 2 more. And there's like 4 hours left of the season, and I was like, there's no way I'm grinding like 6+ like games to try and hit D4. So I ended E1, but I'm gonna try and hit it this season. ADC meta shakeup kind of scares me a little bit. Aphelios is kind of in the gutter right now. He's my favorite. He's my favorite champion. 45% win rate, but he's getting buffed. So.
All right, cool beans. So the last question. Sorry, we will have to skip one because we are running out of time. Oh, time. Are you guys excited or not excited to see the LXC come out with a draft league next split?
A draft league? So like players get drafted?
Yeah, an actual draft league.
Okay. I like the concept. I think I've never done a draft league before. But I like the concept. I think it would be fun to play in. I'm just curious to see how exactly it plays out. What priority? I imagine there's like a team captain, or is it like the owner who's like?
I believe it's captains do the draft.
Okay, gotcha.
People sign up, and so gets named captain, and then they have to draft with the other captains on the remaining players in each.
Okay, got you. So they basically, I mean, I could definitely see it being interesting where like you already have one role secured for yourself, right? And seeing where that, where you put priorities, people you've played with before, things like that. Just knowing team dynamics, could be interesting if there's some, draft or just like player interactions with each other that aren't like the best or anything. They're not vibing or checking. Like, it takes a while on these regular comp teams to build that
Really nice.
relationship. Yeah,
Yeah.
or even just like during tryouts, you kind of get a vibe like, is this person good or not? So I'll be curious to see how that goes, but I imagine it would be a lot of fun. And for the players, seeing at least at the top, seeing, okay, is my draft capital good, or am I like getting closer to the bottom? Like,
am I the last pick? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, NightHawk, what about you?
Yeah, I also think it would be a really cool idea. Sounds really fun and a great way to get to interact with some of the other people in the same rank in your community of Emerald players or whatever rank it is. Depending on when it is and what I'm up to, I might even reconsider coming out of retirement for
And
it.
just
We'll have to
playing a
see.
little.
Hey, there you go.
That'd be cool. Nintendo, what about you?
I think it'll be fun. I think BOL and Risen both have their own draft leagues, and depending on how it's run, I think it could be really fun. I've competed, and I think BOLs and just ran by friends, and it's a lot of fun. You get to meet new people that way. Which I'm a player. I usually tend to play with like players I know on teams I tend to try out for. So draft league gets me out there and gets me to meet new people.
Meet new
Yeah.
people or have somebody else to duo queue with or whatever.
Yeah, and you get to meet people like that aren't in your division too. At least for like multi-rank draft leagues, which is fun. I know a lot of players usually tend to like stick within their division, so they like only know those players. So it's nice to branch out a little bit.
Cool. So there you go, Piglet. Everybody's looking forward to it. Now you can feel better about your life. All right, and that is the end of the episode 13 and final split podcast for season 2 summer split. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you to those who were here and had to leave. Do not forget, around October 26th, 27th, we are going to be having that Halloween tournament. It is a fearless tournament. Details will go up hopefully by the end of this weekend. Thank you and peace out, everybody.
See ya.